everyone, my name is Laphel, and I know you guys already see Man here on screen. This is the heat map, but even though this is Man's face, I want to talk about Todak and how the way that they draft, how the way that they rotate in the game really changed the meta here in MPL Malaysia. So during my live streams, I got a couple of people asking me, how should you roam? How should you rotate around the map? And generally speaking, I would say it's basically the same thing in MPL Philippines, Indonesia, as well as Malaysia. The more important thing that you want to do is you want to establish mid control, because once you're able to control the mid side of the map, you have access to the enemy's jungle here as well as here. And when you have access to the enemy's jungle, it makes it more and more easier for you to control your neutral objectives, which is the Lord or the Turtle. So how do you get this control is by winning the mid side of the map, winning the gold side of the map, because compare gold as well as the EXP lane, it's much easier for you to get control over the gold lane, especially once when you get control of the gold lane, you can have better control of their jungle side compared to the EXP. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to Man's heat map, because in general, this is how a mid laner is going to move around the map, where you guys can see not a lot of focus is here on the EXP lane. This is the heat map of the entire game. Rarely do we see him actually going to the EXP, not visiting the lane itself. The most that he goes through is in this side of the map, which is the Turtle or the Lord state of the game, where he's going to be visiting there, helping out his team, getting some control, whether it be crowd control or the damage, just to space it out even more, giving it an easier time for Gary, the jungler, to secure the objective itself. If not, he's just going to be hovering here in mid, making sure that he is the base of defense for the jungle. For Gary's jungle, making sure it doesn't get invaded, making sure that none of his creeps are stolen. And then when he has the time, when he clears the mid lane, he's gonna go over to the gold lane and then try to get control, either by ganking the enemy gold laner, or if the enemy gold laner is already losing in a 1v1, then he's gonna help out in pushing the lane. And as we can see here, he controls the bushes as well. Hold on, it doesn't illustrate. Yeah, there you go. He controls the bushes. This is a very generic way of how mid laners want to roam now. Control the mid, control the gold lane, make sure that the enemy doesn't get easy control in the jungle here and here. But every once in a while, if he can, he will stick around in the bushes to make sure, that the enemy has an even rougher time of actually winning the lane. Now let's see what Todak does and why it makes it so difficult for Man to really establish control in the mid and in the side lane. Cleaning it up, now we're looking at Chiku, where, for those of you who don't know, Todak reintroduces the draft, the formation of having a marksman here in mid, and then the side lanes, both the gold as well as the EXP, having fighters, like Esmeraldas, Yuzongs, anyone that is tanky enough to handle the lane by itself, so effectively making it into a double EXP laner. Double EXP lane, and then having Lunox in the jungle, and then Chiku having a marksman mid, makes it so that they still have enough damage, right? Because in the mid you got a marksman that dishes a lot of physical damage, and then you have Lunox in the jungle giving out a lot of magical damage. Now, why does this really screw up the way that a team normally wants to roam around the map is that Chiku, even though he is a marksman, looking at the control over here, it's very concentrated here in mid, and look, it's not in a straight line. It's diagonal. He really was able to control. Not only was he able to get farm here, but he's able to make sure that the doors of his own jungle is not getting punished at all, because Lunox in the jungle can get punished just trying to make sure that she doesn't get enough farm, she doesn't get enough items, doesn't get to level 4 quickly. It's gonna make it so that the Lunox won't be able to dish out enough damage up until like what, 14-16 minutes of the game. So Chiku, even as a marksman, he was able to establish this much control in mid, but look at how much he's really rotating on his own side of the map. He is giving vision here, he's giving vision here, and sure, every once in a while, I think this is one of those games where if the Lunox can't really secure the jungle by herself, Chiku is gonna help out a little bit. He may take one or two creeps just that he can increase his farm, but overall, looking at the control that Chiku was able to give out as a marksman is insane. And how he's able to do this is you gotta look at the marksmen that he uses in the mid. He uses Beatrix, he uses Brody, he uses the Claude. So any kind of marksman that has that instant wave clear, like with Brody's ult, with Beatrix Nibiru's Passion, the Nibiru ult, as well as the Blazing Duet from the Claude, even Natan as well. I feel like the Natan is more about having enough having enough magical damage in the team, so that's why the Natan has been picked. But overall, the way that he rotates is he's gonna have control in the mid, but look at how active it is all across the map. He still has bush control up here in the tri brushes, because every single spot that you see he is concentrated, he is controlling the bushes, and this really makes it so that the Lunox jungle has a very easy time, not just in his own jungle. Look at here, he controls the purple side of the buff, so that Gary as a jungler doesn't have easy access to that jungle. Now this is just more about the player. It's so difficult for you to play a marksman in the mid side and then having this much control of the game, but I want to talk about how this is possible, and how I'm gonna really show that is by showing what Yumski is doing in the game. So looking at Yumski over here, you can see that the idea is the exact same. He is controlling mid. It's horizontal. It's not really being like front and back, it's from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom. He really controls this side of the map, and what this accomplishes is that he is able to protect Chiku, making sure that Chiku doesn't get punished even though it is a marksman mid. So even if anyone tries to gank, Yumski is here to mitigate the gank. And looking at the heroes that he uses the Pheromones, he uses the Ruby, and it's usually early picked. Like if Team Todak is the first pick, they will first pick the Pheromones, and if the enemy already picks up the Pheromones for themselves, then Yumski is gonna pick up the Ruby. So the choice of hero is very important, because Chiku as a marksman, he will choose marksmen that have a lot of wave clear, and Yumski, he's gonna have a lot of counter engage tools. Like he has a lot of crowd control to really punish the enemy if they really want to engage onto Chiku. Like even if Chiku and Yumski dies, they're gonna make sure that they take at least one other person, or Chiku has enough time to clear the wave so that even if he dies, no one can really push the mid lane turret. So they still establish mid control. Now looking at Yumski's rotation, be aware that he doesn't rotate much to the gold lane, and he doesn't rotate at all to the EXP lane. And this is also about the draft, because they have a double fighter composition up in the EXP and down here in the up here in the gold lane and down here in the EXP lane. So what that really contributes to the team is that Yumski, he doesn't have to worry what Momo is doing, he doesn't have to worry what Formace is doing. So he only has one really crucial target where he has to focus on, and that is Chiku. Rival, whenever he wants to go aggressive, we can see that Yumski will go up into the enemy's jungle, and this gives a lot of vision to both Yumski as well as gives a lot of vision to Rival as well as Chiku. And this makes it so that no matter what they want to do, they have clear vision of what is going on, and then he can contribute by either engaging into the team fight, or he's just gonna create enough space so that once the enemy actually wants to engage, he knows what's going on, he can counter engage, and then Rival as well as Chiku can counteract with damage. So this is very interesting, because I'm gonna show you guys Min, the roamer for Team Hawk, and then how it looks like. So this is obviously a losing game, but you can see not a lot of control here in mid, because generally what he wants to do is he wants to go to the gold lane. And looking at the heat map, it is very very heavy in this general area, right? Like, of course, he's going through his own jungle, but other than that, it's mostly marked in the bottom side of the map, and then he has to protect the purple buff just because of the amount of control that Chiku guys as well as Yumski is able to establish, and Gary really needs the purple buff for him to have enough cooldowns to initiate a fight, to make sure that he can farm as fast as he can. Doesn't really go much on the EXP lane, but look at how heavy he is here in the gold lane, and this is what most of the teams are doing right now. Control mid, control gold. Once you control both of this, then you try to establish river control, making sure that in the mid side of this map, you can control the turtle, you can control the lord. But because Yumski, he doesn't have to go to the gold lane, he doesn't have to go to the EXP lane, he just takes care of Chiku here in mid, and then if rival wants more vision, then he can establish vision control up in the orange side of the map as well as the purple side of the map. So this is a very bare bones analysis of what Todak is doing, but it's genius because it's really punishing. Because throughout this week, going up against Team Hawk as well as RSG, it's hard for them to break off of the habit of establishing mid control and then focusing on the gold side, where what the enemy should really do is to make them all across the map focus on the mid side, because the marksman is going to be very vulnerable here at mid. The only problem is Chiku always drafts hero that he can clear the mid very fast, and Yumski, he's gonna draft himself a hero that he can basically control this side of the map, so even if the enemy tries to fight, he can fight back. And then if they do rotate, then both the gold lane as well as the XP lane, they're very open. They can actually get the gold plating, making it so that they can establish some kind of snowball where they can have one item before the enemy establish their first item. So this is a very good way of Todak really answering towards the current meta right now. Of course, there are weaknesses, and the weaknesses is here in mid. And if the mid is shut down, then it's basically the same situation if the gold lane is shut down, which is you're not gonna have enough damage going into the mid game. And then if you're shut down hard, even in the later stages of the game, like 60 minutes, 70 minutes, it's gonna be very difficult for you because you're down by 2 items or maybe even 3 items, depending on how hard you were controlled. But so far, teams have not really have an answer of how to control the mid because of the mechanics from Chiku as well as Yumski. So this is a very short, very brief way of really explaining what Team Todak is doing based on the heat map, so that people can have a rough understanding of what's going on. Because again, want to show you guys Chiku's heat map. As a mid lane, this is what you want to do: control mid and then establish a control to the gold lane. The EXP lane not so much, but he has so much free roam, he can go to the EXP lane as well. I feel like this is a very good way to draft. There's definitely answers of how to eliminate this kind of situation, but you know, if Todak can, like, they're just winning off of mechanics. Like, even Formies, a Benedetta going up against a Phoveus, he said like, yeah, I understand that the Phoveus is the direct counter to the Benedetta, but he really doesn't care. He can still win his lane, he can still win the 1v1s, and he can still contribute into the team fight. So this is great. Team Todak, this is a very good innovation by them. I want to see what innovation that is coming from any other teams, and I have the heat map for all the teams. So if there's any team in particular you guys want to look at, you guys want me to analyze their heat map, I can do so. But that's it from me, Laphel. Hopefully you guys understood what I'm trying to say here with the Todak draft and the way that they rotate across the map, and I'll see you guys in the next one.